Hello, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to route between two machines connected through a router. Okay, so we will go to click on this routers thing, and then we'll pick this generic router, the first one. It should say router PT in the bottom. So we'll click on that and insert it over here. You can zoom this like this. Okay, can even alright. So now let's insert the two machines. So click on AND devices, pick the first one, which is for a desktop or PC generic. So insert that here, click one more time and you insert it here. Okay, so I'm going to connect them through a cable. So to connect a computer to a router, we need a crossover cable. So we'll pick this one. Okay, so the fourth one, that's the crossover cable. Click on the computer, select fast Ethernet, then drag it, click on the router, select the first interface, fast Ethernet 0/0. So now I'm just going to label this. This is a network. I'm going to give it a prefix 1.0/24, and let me connect this computer to this router. Pick the next one. Okay, so I'm going to, this is just labeling, we have not yet configured the routers. Okay, so again, as part of putting the label values, I'm going to say this is 1.0 interface, right? So the router gets 1.1 on that interface, so the PC gets 1.2. So the router on this interface will have the IP address. All these routers get the first IP address for that interface. Okay, the first available IP address, so 1.1. Similarly, on this interface, the router will get 192.168.2.1. Okay, and this PC will have 192.168.2.2. So now we need to set up all these things. So let's first go to the router, double click on this. We're going to run some Cisco commands to configure it. So continue the configuration dialog, say no, press enter, again press return. So now we are into the command line interface of the router. So to do all this configuration settings, we have to get into a privileged mode, which is like a root mode in a Linux machine. So we do that by typing enable, so that gets you to the privileged mode. Now with this hash prompt, we can run some commands to see the configuration of the router, but we cannot change or set any configuration. To set any configuration, we have to say config. If you just press enter, it will ask you whether you want to configure the terminal, memory, or network. So press T for terminal. So now you could configure the terminal. Now you could get out of the terminal mode by pressing exit. So that will again press enter. So now you are back to the command mode. You can make it big too if you want. Alright, so now you can, instead of just saying config, if you type config space T, that will take you also directly to the terminal mode. Okay, let me see if I can extend it like this. Okay, that's good. Alright. So now with this config mode, you can do some global settings to the router. So for example, I want to set the router name to router 0 or something like that. I can say host name space router 0. So now you can see the name becomes router 0. Okay, so now we want to configure each of these individual interfaces, this interface and this interface. So which means we have to really get into those interfaces. So how do you do that? Remember when we connected this cable, it showed up as fast Ethernet 0/0. So how do you know that? You can go to the config button also if you want, and you can see this is fast. Well, you cannot see this. Let me see if you can. You could reduce the font a little bit. But if you click on this, this is fast Ethernet /0/0. Okay. You could set all the IP address through this screen, but I want you to learn how to set it through the command line interface. So when you do the demo to me, you have to show it through the command line interface. Okay. So once you practice it a couple of times, it should be very easy for you. So how to set the so since I clicked on this interface, that's why it came out like this. So I can exit it out and I can type interface fast Ethernet 0/0. Remember, there shouldn't be any space between fast Ethernet 0 and 0/0. Okay, so press enter. So now you're back onto this. So to set the IP address, I'll say IP space address. And what address we want to set? We want to set 192.168.1.1 for this interface. So that's going to be 192.168.1.1, and the subnet mask is going to be 255 3 times .0. Okay, and so now you still see that there's a red color button here, right, which means this interface is not yet active. So to make it active, we have to say no space shutdown. When you say no shutdown, it means it really turns it on and it is running. Okay, so you can see now it will be changed to a green color. Alright, so now let's come out of this interface and we'll get into the other interface by telling interface fast. If you press tab, the whole thing fast Ethernet will come up, but you have to again select the interface, so 1/0. Okay, so you have to know that interface ID. You can check it by going to config if you want and click on this. It says fast Ethernet 1/0. Right, so now let's go to let's configure the IP address, IP space address, and you see here this is 192.168.2.1. so 192.168.2.1, this is the subnet mask. Okay, and you again turn it on by running this no shutdown command. Right, press enter, and now you could come out of the interface configuration mode, and you could come out of this too. So now you're back into the command execution mode. So when you say show running config, show running space hyphen config, that will, if you keep press enter, okay, this is for fast Ethernet, the first interface 0/0, and this is for the second interface, and you don't have anything else interesting to see. So let's just say Q for quit, and then we'll come back. Alright, so we can just close this window and now click on this the PC. Let's go to config, or you can go to desktop, and we want to configure this IP address. So click on IP configuration under desktop. So this is, you're manually assigning this IP address, so that's a static IP address 1.2, and if you just press tab, you'll get the subnet mask automatically. And the default gateway should be the IP address of this router interface, because if this computer wants to send something out of itself, it has to send to this router. There's no other go, right? So this should be the default gateway, and we don't need a DNS server for now, so we can just close this window, and you can test it actually. Just go to the command prompt and you can ping to this interface, and you should be able to get the reply. Alright, so ping is just trying to connect to that other side and see if you get any machine. Okay, and you see if you get a reply. So you're sending, say, a request message, you will get, you will send actually 4 request messages normally, and then you will get 4 replies. Okay, one for each of the messages. So now let's go to this computer. If you click it twice, it will appear something like this in the bottom. So now click on desktop IP configuration. Now let's set up this and this subnet mask, and the default gateway should be 2.1, this interface, right? Okay, close it. So you can even test now the connectivity. You can ping to the router, or first let's do that, right? And you can also ping to the to this computer from the other one. Okay, so I'm trying to do a ping from this computer to this computer, 1.2. Get a reply. All right. So let's try from this one. Okay. All right. So that's one thing. Now, what I also wanted to show is, if you see here, there is this. What we did is in real time. There is the simulation mode. You can get into that, and there is this edit filters thing. So when you click on this, you can see all these options selected. So when you click on this show all one more time, everything will go off. Now you just select ICMP and you come out of it by just clicking somewhere outside, and then you click on auto capture. Okay. Now before you click on auto capture, well, just click, but you have to send the packet. So what you'll do is grab this one and insert that packet over here. That's for the source. So that guy is going to ping. This is a source for the ping, and this is a destination for the ping. And now, since we already clicked auto capture, it's going to send the request message, and you can see the request message comes here, and this guy is going to now send a reply. Okay. So you can stop this once you had one ping coming back, the reply coming back. So now let's look at the if you click on this, you can see actual packet headers. So you see here, this is an ICMP request message going from 1.2, the source IP, to 2.2, that's the destination IP, right? And you can also see the outbound packet, the structure of that packet, the contents of the header and all these things. This is a preamble, 64-bit preamble, and this is supposed to be the MAC address of this interface. Okay, and where can you cross check it? Let me close for the time being. Double click on the computer. If you click on config and click on this interface fast Ethernet, you should be able to see this MAC address. Okay, so let me copy this just for verification and use this labeling thing. So let me use this. Type MAC. So this is the MAC interface for this MAC address for this interface, and for the router, let's go to this. Click on fast Ethernet 0/0. So this is your MAC address. So let's do this. Okay, this is this side of it. And let's do this side. 1/0. This is the MAC address. Right. And for this guy, this is the MAC address. Alright, so now let's look at the packet headers. So the outbound packet coming from 1.2, it is coming from, you see, E0 F910 AE3E, going to this MAC address F9E9 and so on, right? And still the source IP, destination IP is 1.2 to 2.2, and this is an ICMP request packet, right? So if you see the message ICMP message type, that's a code word, okay, for the request packet. That's 8. And let's now look at the router, this packet. So now this is at router 0, right? That's how we named it. And the incoming packet from this computer coming from E0, this MAC address, to this MAC address, right? The same packet that we saw here. And the outbound packet, the packet going from this computer, from the router to the destination computer, will have what? Will have this as the source MAC address, FF7B4EC1, and this is the destination MAC address, right? And still the source and destination IP address remains the same, because always the IP address doesn't change in the packet header. It's only the MAC address that changes at every hop, right? So now let's click on this. This is the same packet that we just saw, the incoming packet from this interface to this interface. Now the outgoing packet would be a reply from, now it's going from 2.2, that's the source, to 1.2. So it will appear to come from this MAC address to this MAC address, okay? And let's now click on this. That will be going from this is the same packet that we just saw, coming from here to here, and the outbound packet will be the one that goes from the router to this guy, okay? So it is still coming from 2.2 going to 1.2, but it is now the MAC address is this interface to this interface, okay? And now finally the packet here, the inbound packet to this computer is coming from 2.2 to 1.2, coming from this interface F9E9 to this F910, right? Okay, so we could stop here. So actually, for the first phase of your project, what you're supposed to do is add one more computer and give it 192.168.3.0 network, and then show me that you could ping from one host to any other host and so on, right? So we will see how to do that, okay? All right, well, you are supposed to show me how to do that.